So with turkey season over this year, I thought I'd put together a list of things I learned this year. I'm always trying to be a better turkey hunter. I don't consider myself an expert by any means. There's a lot to learn. But that means I spend a lot of time in the field, but I also try to incorporate things that I've learned from hunts that went well and from hunts that, didn't go as planned, which a lot of times I've learned the most from things that didn't work out correctly. So the things I'm going to go over are based on the areas that I hunt and the birds that are in that area. If you disagree or have a different viewpoint, that's great. Just leave a respectful comment, start a conversation so we can all share information and help each other become better woodsmen and women, and ultimately, hopefully, better turkey hunters. So I hunt mostly in areas of thick palmettos, scrub oaks, underbrush that you really can't see more than a few feet through in certain areas. And there are some cattle fields and areas at the timber company. They've pushed up piles of stumps and stuff where they've cut down the trees, and in those areas we have bushes growing up around those areas, right? There's also a lot of pressure in my area, both from other hunters and from predators. To be quite honest, we have a lot of coyotes, foxes, and even some bobcats, right? So the gobblers don't talk a whole lot. They don't gobble a lot. In fact, it's not uncommon to hear one gobble once a long ways away, and the next thing you know, he's looking into the bush that you're sitting in and runs off, right? So I put together a list of the 5 top things that I learned this year, and a lot of these things are going to seem like common sense, but honestly, most of the good advice that I've ever gotten throughout the years is common sense. So the first thing is that you have to spend a lot of time in the field, right? Where you're going to hunt and kind of know your area. So I know this seems like a no-brainer, but I don't mean just scouting for birds and hunting birds, right? I mean things like, where are you going to park your truck? Looking at how you're going to get in quietly in the dark, right? Without a whole lot of flashlight movement and things, right? What direction are the birds going to come from? And what areas do you see them roosting in, so that you can kind of position yourself so that you don't walk right past them, right? So these are kind of things like, how are you going to get in there and get set up in the dark, right? An example of how this kind of went wrong this year is me and my dad tried to sneak in to a field where we know that there are birds. We've seen them there multiple times. And as we were walking in, we were slipping down the side of the field, and we stopped to talk to each other for a second, and we were like, I hear turkeys. It was dark, but they were in the tree, kind of tree yelping, soft, right above us. And about that time, about 20 turkeys just flew off right above us. So we didn't have a good plan on how we were going to get in the dark. We hadn't scouted the area for where we were going to set up real well. I mean, we blew it. And I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this have done the same thing. But plan better on how to get in the dark, and how not to spook the turkeys on your way in. Number 2 is to set up with the sun at your back. So nothing's worse than seeing a turkey only after he snuck up on you and sees you first and runs away, right? So if you set up with the sun in your face, it's really hard to see them slipping in, coming out of the tree line or a thick patch of bushes. And also, if the sun's in your eyes, then it's at their back, and you're most likely lit up, right? And it makes it even easier for them to see your movements. And we all know they don't need any help picking out movement or seeing us, right? So I had 2 birds this year come, and I could see them walking kind of down the side of a tree line, and they were coming towards me. But as they came towards me, I was pretty much lit up by the sun, and the sun was at their back. So as I raised my shotgun, from a distance it was too far away for me to take an ethical shot. The first one just dead stopped and turned around and ran the other direction. His friend that was following him didn't see me, but he watched his buddy run by him and just turned around and followed him. So I kind of blew that by setting up in a way that the sun was going to come up in my eyes and at their back so that they could see me even better, right? So that's number 2. And that kind of leads into number 3. So number 3, this is the first year that I hunted with a decoy. So there's good and bad things about hunting with a decoy, at least the decoy I have. You can't run and gun with my decoy very well. It's kind of hard to carry. It's on a stick and it's constantly blown up or whatever, right? So next year I'm going to look for one that I can fold up and stick in my bag, my pack a little better, my vest, so that I can move around a little bit better with it. But I do like how turkeys focus on the decoy and kind of buy me a little bit more time, right? And a little bit more freer range of movement. So I'd say that the best way to use a decoy is to kind of set it up not in line with you and where the turkeys are coming from. So set the decoy up to the side so that when the turkey is coming out and looking at the decoy, you're not directly behind it, right? When I first tried to use this, I put it up between me and the turkey could see me behind it. So the next thing I did is which I lost a bird doing this. So about a week later, I set up in the same location, but this time what I did is I put the decoy about 30 yards to my right, and I moved a little bit to the left of where I thought he was going to come from. And then when he came out, he looked to his left, saw the decoy, and started walking towards her, which at some point put his back, he was give or take 25, 30 yards away from me, put his back to me. He couldn't see anything. So that allowed me to raise my shotgun, reposition, get a clean shot without him seeing anything. So I guess the thing that I would say there is don't set the decoy up in a way that's kind of off center from where you're sitting so that the turkey looks at the decoy and moves away and has his attention drawn in another direction, basically. The fourth thing is don't overcall, right? And like I said, the birds in my area, tons of hunting pressure. They don't gobble a whole lot, right? And they expect the hens to come to them. So I had a situation this year where I had a bird that was actually gobbling, and for once he was gobbling his head off. He was walking back and forth, right? Gobbling. He was about 25 yards inside of a tree line. I couldn't see him because, tons of palmetto bushes and stuff, but he was just going back and forth, and I thought that if I kept talking to him, that he'd eventually stick his head out of the tree line and I'd get a shot at him, right? After about 15 minutes, though, this guy figured out that something was wrong, and I heard a helicopter take off and looked up, and he was flying away, more than in shotgun distance, but just not where I could see him. So, and that was my fault because I overcalled. I should have stopped calling and had him get more curious and come the rest of the way instead of holding up and starting to go back and forth, wondering why the hen wasn't coming to him. So that's number 4. Don't overcall. And the last one is to carry a set of garden clippers. So I was able to use these this year to block out some area in a pushed up pile of stumps that had bushes starting to grow up around it. I kind of cut and made my own little blind a day before I went hunting, and I figured there was no way that the turkey was going to come from behind me in the cut down tree area of the field, right? So it helped me make sure that he couldn't see me, and because of where I set up, he couldn't come from behind me. So there's kind of 2 things in that one. One is carry a set of garden clippers so you can maybe make your own little makeshift blind and fill in some areas if necessary. But the other one is that if the birds are coming out of a tree line and you're somewhere close to one of these pushed up fields, try to set up somewhere in those fields because they're definitely not coming from the field, they're coming from the tree line, right? So you'll definitely have them in front of you. So that's the 5 things that I learned, and again, they completely are for me in the birds I hunt and in my area. So basically understanding my area, the birds, and how to set up in a more effective manner, especially when using a decoy, let me have a really successful year this year. I killed my limit, and I even helped get the limits of other people in the club. So if you have something to share, please leave it in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I've already started thinking about next turkey season, and I'm also working on on my video setup for deer hunting videos this year. So deer hunting season starts for me in the first place that I hunt, which is in South Carolina in August. So I'll start putting out deer hunting videos at that point in time. So anyway, like and subscribe, and thanks for clicking on this video. Have a good day.